Hey everybody, Jeff Beggins here. I am really been honored. We're with Mr. Clint Runge right here, who is the founder, the CEO of Archibald. And why this is so exciting for me is to watch this Beachmaker experience come to life and to watch it become bigger than we originally thought it could be, and just watching all of this creativity and passion and all of your past experience in branding come together. So when we were able to engage you to bring you onto this property, it really reignited us as far as what the possibilities are going to be from here. So I just want to take a minute for our viewers that are really kind of getting intrigued and deciding to become beach makers of their own by buying an actual piece of this coastline and this soon to be amazing resort. So I just kind of really wanted to spend a little time with you and kind of backtracking how we got together on this one, your view of the project and what we've really done, and share a little bit of the insight of to what actually made the Beachmaker from the Triangle Hotel project when we first met.
Well, it's an exciting story for sure, and we're super excited to be a part of it. You know, our work here in place branding goes all over the country, in almost every market you can think of. And I got to tell you, this particular project, working on the brand, is probably one of our favorites because it is such a unique location with such rich history. When you find a place that's just like actually special, and then you get to put something even made intentionally for this place only, that's like the branding mecca right there. So we're very excited to be a part of it. And I know we're going to share some of that story here today. Well, I guess, when we first, start looking at projects, Jeff, we came down there, we met, and we saw, what it is, the sort of vision of what you were creating. The first thing we do is we always go around and look and say, well, what else is here? Do other people have this vision? Is this is it one of a kind, or is there other people doing this thing? And wow, I mean, what we saw was, there were good hotels, but there was nothing that was amazing. Nothing that like what your intentions are and your teams. Like it's sort of like the brand version of, we call it like a sea of sameness, where it's sort of like put up another box, put some blue colors on it, call it a beach hotel, and that sort of thing is just repeated over and over down the coastline. And believe me, that has its place. That's for a certain type of guest and a certain type of a person coming to the beach. And, we appreciate those kind of hotels for what they are. But when we understood what it is that you were trying to create in comparison to there, it's another league. Maybe even two, frankly. So that was the first thing we really realized in being there. Now there are other cool hotels in Tampa and Clearwater, but they're so far away from the beach, like Madeira specifically, like this very special place that it's just uniquely located in its own little place.
And what's really exciting for us is we develop a lot of different projects in a lot of different places. But for myself and Bill Carnes and Marcus Winters, kind of the guys who started this whole project, we all live right here, right? So this is not just let's go build a project and move on to the next project. This is the generational project that you walk your kids through, and them to take their kids through, and so on and so forth. As this is the mark, right? This is the spot. This is the pride piece of what's going on. So when we kind of we're looking for the right thing, remember we went through branding. What brand do we go with? Do we brand it? Do we do independent? What could make this the best of all? And so yeah, you hit it right on the head with that one. Is we wanted to make this an experience, not just a hotel, of a resort experience destination.
Well, and where your community in itself is already special, and then when you put something special within it, that's what this magic is, and that's what this whole project is. And really, your story of kind of just how you described this being a generational project for you all is really part of the lineage of the story of Madeira. Like it's just another chapter that's being written, that has been told over and over again, that makes it so interesting.
Let's jump into that story, because I think the people just hear the name Beachmaker, they don't realize the months and months and months and the hours of meetings and names and themes and pictures and imagery that went into this one. So let's kind of give them a little sneak peek behind the curtain of where we started, how we're doing the story. So I'll kind of have you jump into that.
Yeah, well, when you start thinking about building a project like this with condos and an autograph hotel, which would be beautiful, so much of this is about making sure that we are cognizant of the community and its history and its site. What you are building could not be built anywhere else in the world. It is specifically for Madeira Beach. And to do that, we have to become, part of our brand process is first to become researchers. And we have to really get to know the site and get to know the people and the community. And of course, we spent a lot of time down there doing that. And one of the things that we always sort of say is that any place worth its sand has a story, right? And that's that's so specific to Madeira Beach. And we found that if you can step back through history, and there, people from around there would know this. I mean, you goes all the way down to the creation of the area, and all the hurricanes. The big one in 1848 that came through and really established the coastline that's there today. Of course, that created John's Pass, right, just up the way, and that whole new area really during that time. It started with these hurricanes creating this new coastline that brought in all sorts of new life. Obviously, the fishing in the area is tremendous, and that's actually what originally drove the first beach makers to the area. All this great fishing because of this new territory that opened up. Fish came in the tarpon. It was really ripe for that. And there's a guy named James Foley that had this first vision. He was a big fisherman in the area. And he loved it down there. He thought, you know what, I'm going to buy this island and I'm going to create a community out of it. And really, this is the origins of Madeira. He did buy it. He called it Olive Island. And he thought, I'm going to make this a community of people who love to fish. And he started to sell lots. His vision was grand. It didn't necessarily work out. Part of that was because he started 2 years before World War II. And also there was no road access. You actually had to take like a ferry to get to the island. And so he only had this idea for about 2 years and then had to sell it. But the next beach maker that came along was Noel Mitchell. And he would be a name that people locally would recognize. He was this guy that considered himself, in fact, a man of the people. And he has quite an interesting history that you could go into. But in this particular chapter of his life, being a real estate agent, he bought Olive Island. He renamed it Mitchell's Beach. And he thought, I'm going to make this place a place. And he had that vision, the same kind of vision that you talked about. He had that vision too. And so he built a hotel and he thought, I'll bring people to the beach. They'll stay in the hotel and they'll be able to sell them cottages. We'll create little areas for them to buy their own pieces of property. And once they come and experience Madeira Beach, they won't want to leave. And he was right. I mean, that's a story that's true today. People come from all over the world. They come here and they want to stay because Madeira Beach is so amazing. Now, Noel Mitchell called himself the Sandslinger, the Sandman. He had all these great nicknames. And he tried because he was such a promoter of Madeira Beach. Now, he didn't get very far. There's another hurricane, 1921, that came and basically wiped everything out. And then that's when you enter in the next series of beach makers. And really the star of the history of the show is Albert Archibald. That the family is an amazing family for the past 100 years of what they've done with Madeira. But our Albert Archibald, A.B. Archibald, he came in and he said, I'm going to take what Mitchell has and I'm going to take it to the next level. And so he started all this development, or he wanted to, but he knew that in order for people to get there, he had to build this bridge. And people needed to get here. It needed to be easier. And so he wanted to build this bridge. There was another gentleman named Perry Snell that he owned Snell Island and part of the North Shore. And of course, he didn't want the competition at Madeira. And so he tried to prevent a bridge from happening. It reads like this, like a novel, like a mystery and thriller novel. The stories what happened.
It's like a Netflix series already.
Yes. Like you could really build something out of that. And by the way, Archibald is the one that named it Madeira. He loved Madeira Island, which is off of Portugal. And his brother, who was very much an inspiration and a role model for him, his name is Ira. Right, IRA, and that's how Madeira ends its word. And so you get this really interesting story that he was like, I want to call this Madeira as a tribute to one of his favorite places in the world and to his brother. But he needed this bridge, Jeff, right? And so he teams up with this other guy named David Welch. Welch is he's a clever guy. He says we can do this. We're going to work around this, and between the two of them, they find a way to make this bridge. But it really was this collaborative effort. And you know how you talk so much to me about community. Well, this was the community happening here. It's people working together right here at Madeira. And so they worked. They ended up getting this bridge built. There's a great story about how they named the bridge, because between the two of them, they've done so much. There's this beautiful bridge that needed a name. There was this veterans park that they were going to donate to the people, to the community, and they actually settled who would get to name what over a chess match. And so they had this great chess match there on the beach, and of course Welsh won, and so the bridge was named after him, and Archibald got the Veterans Park that still exists today.
I love it. It's such a fun story, especially being from living in Madeira Beach. It's just great to be able to personify this one. So, all right.
Yeah, and then you get Archibald going, and then he just goes. He builds. He buys an 80-foot private yacht and builds a bar out of it. He creates playgrounds and swings and rides. He has the skating rink, a merry-go-round, this toboggan slide that goes right into the beach, into a pool. He gets a young bear cub. It's this Canadian bear cub from these animal shows that were coming along, and he buys this bear cub and he lets it run up and down the beach and sort of snip at people's heels. I mean, Madeira Beach is wild when you look at its history.
It's so fun, but from looking at it, because Madeira, if you look at the whole stretch, we're on like a 27-mile stretch of Barrier Island. It's spectacularly beautiful, as you know. But each little mile and a half, 2 miles is its own little kingdom, right, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then the stories now come to life for those who have visited here, live here, and that are coming to become the next beach makers with us. And when you drive through Madeira Beach, you literally still see these beach cottages. These little fisherman cottages still are up and down these coasts. So you have a beach cottage next to a $4 million home, right? And then it's such a unique place.
And it works.
It works.
It works. It's so, and that's just, I think that's credit to, it's credit to the beach makers. People come, they have a vision, and then they stay. And that's what's made the place, the community that it is today.
Right. And we still have the fish houses. And I think a neat point is everybody loves grouper sandwiches and all that type of fish. More grouper comes under John's Pass than anywhere else on the entire planet. This is the grouper fishing capital of the world still today. And you see the Hubbard's family and all the charter boats that go out. It's still very much a really cool fishing community that has a little bit interesting, because a lot of people say it was just that, but it wasn't. When you look at Archibald and his vision, it was tourism. It was let's bring experiences to bring people here so they fall in love with the place and keep coming back. Right. That was kind of the mission back then, too. So, and then they tried everything. We had casinos, we had hotels, we had bears, you had all kinds of dolphins, which we'll get into. And so really Madeira has a very special place on all the Gulf beaches out here.
And we're thinking about the brand, part of it too. You have this great history, and then you've got to mirror that with the reason why all this history exists. It's because of the beauty of Madeira, right? And so you have to look at the jungle woods that were there and the beautiful sable palms. You look at the sand, which is totally unique. Right, it's incredible sand that exists right on your beach. You got the waters, the beautiful waters. You have the sunsets, which are legendary across Madeira, and then all the exploration around it. So you have all this Madeira beauty. For the reason people are coming from a brand standpoint, that's a pretty big influence on the project. And then you're also mirroring this with these great stories of visionaries who came and stayed.
So the past history blends into our branding scenario when we're coming up with what are we gonna call this, right? And then how are we gonna proceed from here? Because we really want this to be a tribute to the past, a recognition and appreciation for the present, and really looking forward to making something unbelievably beautiful and lasting for the future, right? So, and that's a branding discussion, right? There's a lot of work that you don't just do that. It'd be really easy to build a building, put some turquoise umbrellas up like everybody else does.
That's what people have done.
But that's not what we're doing here. So how did we evolve from here?
Okay. All right. So we bring that together in a story. And do you want me to read the story?
Yeah.
Because it really brings it all together. So I'll read this for everybody. It's just a moment long, but it really does start to say, oh, this is what's being done here. Okay. So I'll read this. All right. When A.B. Archibald first set foot on his newly acquired island property, he loosened his tie. And for a century since, people have flocked to Madeira Beach to do the same. They trade typical vacations for more unexpected luxury, the freedom to be yourself. Madeira Beach has filled childhoods with countless hours of roaming discovery. nourished veterans with a natural wellness, and turned visitors into residents. There's something about this sand. When visitors come, they stay, they create, and over the years, it's inspired an amusement park, casino, resort, restaurants, and shopping centers. Ideas boom because here, you're free from life's hold. Eyes naturally gaze off and minds soak its salted air elixir, because imagination comes right along with beachside living. Famed as the Holiday Isles, Madeira Beach is a gathering of flip-flops, swimsuits, and opportunity. The beach doesn't care who you are out there. Here, we're under a different ethos to make the most of what today brings. And what stood before the pioneers of Madeira Beach was a vast wooded jungle of mangrove swamps. But what they saw was potential. And it's the same for us. Our hotel celebrates 100 years of this Madeira spirit, made from the pioneers and reimagined by today's sunseekers. Yes, they turned a vision into a community, but in the end, it is the granules we all add that make our coast a sensation, Madeira a destination, and our sand a world legend. And when you're here, that makes you a beachmaker too. I love that story.
I do.
It
I
feels
get
good to say it.
goosebumps every time I hear that because it's so true. And being so involved in the community here, we want this to be a pride point for everybody who lives in town. Look, there's fewer than 4,000 residences in Madeira Beach. It's a real legit, super small, great, close-knit beach community. And to invite other people to be part of that is very exciting. And for all of the locals here to welcome the other people to become beach makers with them is really interesting to watch the blend come together, which has happened since Archibald started in the beginning. You had the original people. There are no Madeira Indian tribes, right? So nobody like inhabited the area. It
Yeah.
was a sandbar that nobody could get to ultimately. And then as it evolves, progress happens. And it's fun to kind of watch this next iteration happen there.
I do feel like your hotel and condos, like the mission is really to give Madeira this new destination that ushers in the next era of beach making. And that's really what we're doing. You're continuing that lineage, and now you're opening this up to a whole new level.
If you have it with you, can you open up your deck, your slide deck? Because when we started talking about the branding, and then we went through, how many hundreds of names did we go through?
Oh, a lot. I mean, I think we probably literally started with 100 and we whittle it down, and then the process is grueling at times because it's, coming up with a name it feels like you're naming a child when it's that important to you.
It is.
And so, but we did end up with this beautiful name, the Beachmaker, which I think describes the history, it describes the future, and it describes the present. You all today who are beach makers. Let me open this up and I'll share my screen.
Yeah, because the name flows into the imagery, right? And then it flows into the colors and then the logos and all those things come together with Trish Poole and our whole design team, plus with your branding, it's unbelievable. So to see, I would just want you guys watching because I just think it's fascinating. I love to know the stories behind things. So this is for those of you who want to see the stories behind the Beachmaker. There's a lot that went into it. So this was one of my favorite ones.
All right. So this is the mark. And by a mark, what we really mean is like the core graphic identity of it. Okay. And this mark, there's a lot going on here, but it's all intentional, and this is fun for me to share because we always don't get to do this. People just sort of see it on a sign or something. But the first thing is like we made this very detailed. We want when you see this mark, it should feel like this is an upper scale place. This has moments of luxury to it. This is different than what you experience in the market today. And you can sort of feel that already in the mark because we made it so intricate, right? And then we have this idea of growth down the center of it, right, with this palm. And that really is talking about building and the rising and the growth of the area. And not just in buildings, but in spirit. When you start talking about living things growing, there's a spirit that's involved with that. We wanted that spirit of beach making, of development, but also like personal growth. You can feel all that in there. Now, some of these things that start to find on the side, you start to see like little water drips or things like that, and sort of fauna sort of starting to come off of this thing. That really what it reads to most people is just it's active. And so there's things happening here. This is a place of social. This is a social center. When we think about Madeira Beach, this is going to become a place that everybody who comes to Madeira Beach is going to either stay here or go through here. The food, the drinks, we haven't talked about that. It's going to be amazing. And so we want to make sure we represented this idea of activity right there. Down the middle of this, we put the sable palm. So that is that tree. It's an artistic representation of it, but this is the Floridian tree, the state tree. It's found up and down, of course, the West Coast, a little bit on the East Coast as well, but all across Florida. And so we wanted something that very much was about this location. I mentioned the drips, so there's some water specifically made to feel like a water experience. And then at the top, there's this sun and moon sort of combination. And the idea is here that it just really represents that this is a place for the day and is a place for the evening as well. And we think it really shines because of it. Do you want me to show you this? Because this is we started looking at this in a holistic sense, and so there's the typography for this particular piece. We're focusing on the hotels, of course. There's the condos as well. Start to see the typography itself now is a lot more straightforward because the mark is so intricate, and you want to have that balance. So if we put this Beachmaker up on the side, it reads all well together. Nice little badge mark put together. Started creating some other illustrations behind this. I think they're beautiful. We look at colors. We look at colors. We look at colors all day and try to find the things that represent the vision and what will fit into the community. And so these have a beachy feel, but they're not obnoxious. Some of the competitors, those colors get out of control. So this has more sophistication to it. There's some key cards. This is all mock-up, so don't hold this to it. But we like the way the brand starts to express itself visually, across all of these different elements. And who knows what we'll actually make? I mean, we'll make far more than this when we actually get to the hotel. But we think about patterns. You might find this pattern in wallpaper or on menus. Here we have it on a great little seat. Yeah, it's kind of fun. You can start to see, how all of it starts to come to life.
As a true experience, right? So this is way more than just a hotel, right? This is an experience. That's the best word for it. It's going to be an experience. I was just in. We have a bunch of different real estate offices all over the place. So I was over at one of our Tampa ones, and the Tampa people are like, "Oh my gosh, what an opportunity to be able to just own a piece out here." And just come back and forth, keep my stuff in my owner's closets over there. Just come in, give the valet my keys, go unpack, go into my owner's closet, get my bathing suit, go out to the beach, swim in the pool, get a pina colada, get some food, go up, take a nap, get some room service later, get some drinks, right? It's just that whole experience that we really don't have locally here.
There's not every hotel we brand I actually want to go stay in. This one, I'm going to ask for the discounts. I'm going to be like, let me stay here. The pools are amazing. The F&B outlets are going to be just top notch. It really is providing something to the community. I did want to say, on experiences, because we're showing graphic identities, which are nice, but really it's the experience that makes the brand. And just know that beyond all of this, we're thinking through all those little moments. How do those stories start to weave themselves into the hotel or condo experience, at the pools, at the F&Bs. I know that the chess, story finds itself in these great little moments throughout the hotel. But all of that will become the experience, and that truly is the brand. And I think that's what everyone's very excited about.
And you'll see little intricacies, little bears and little footprints, and just really.
We've talked about bear footprints.
It's coming, Clint.
It's going to be so cool. I hesitate saying everything because by the time we built it, who knows what's going to be there. But boy, we have so many just cool ideas that. If we do half of them, if we do 20% of them, like, it makes this place so original and so unique, not just to Madeira, but honestly across many hotels, like the hotel segment. This is going to be an awesome destination. I'm so happy you are all building this and that we get to be a part of it.
I am too. One last thing I want to make sure we touch on, because you do this for a lot of different projects all over, mm-hmm. right? So specifically this one, we could have made this just the Beachmaker Resort as an independent and we would still crush it, right? But when we went through the opportunities out there and we started looking at the international branding opportunities, and we tapped into the different brands and the Marriotts, and specifically when Marriott came out, we all were involved mm-hmm. in this process too, about the selection to go into the Autograph collection, right? Which is they're up in the upper scale.
Yep.
So talk about that for a second, about how do you see those blending well together? And one of the taglines from the Autograph collection is exactly like nothing else,
Yeah.
right? Which I love that branding that they came up with
Yeah.
on that one. So give us a little glimpse from your perspective from a branding. How do those blend well together? Because no one's really excited about seeing a big box with an M on the side of it, right?
Oh,
Which we're not doing, right?
you're not doing that. Exactly. I think that's probably that probably is worth an explanation. So, as you're developing a hotel, you're looking for different partners, different opportunities. I got to tell you, you picked the perfect one for your project. Now we see a far range. There's very luxurious hotels and there's select hotels, but there's this autograph segment that is for the, let's call it upper scale to luxury. And that's really the category that it lives in. And some lean, different sides of that. And all of these hotels are independent hotels. They're essentially independent. And so they're all about that location, that site, that story. And as you said, the tagline, exactly like nothing else. It's true. You stay at one autograph hotel, it is completely different in the branded story and experience than anywhere else in the world. That said, you do get the power of Marriott. You get some rigorous standards that make sure it meets expectations. And the type of guests that you're talking about coming here have those expectations. They travel for work. But they're not going to travel any differently when they come personally. They want to stay at really nice places that help. They don't want to stay at a hotel and then have to go somewhere else for the vacation. The hotel is part of the vacation, and where they stay is as much of the experience as going to the beach. So they want a place that feels like it's full of something they can't get anywhere else, and that is exactly the vision you set out to do. And the Autograph brand matches it. I mean, literally perfectly. It's a home run.
I love it. We couldn't be any more excited on this one. So I really want to thank you for the time just kind of taking in here, because I'm just kind of I'm the type of guy that I just love. I'm just an inquiring mind, right? I want to know the story behind the stories.
Yeah.
And it's to the point now where that story might have been lost, right? So I wanted to make sure that we make this live forever on the site. So people who want to say, well, how did this even come about? And the story is back here. And then we got the other little video that will be next to this one. We'll kind of see that. But just the branding and the background and the years, right? I mean, we've been on this for a long time together, and so we're not rushing it. We're doing it perfectly. And Archibald, your company that you built, and as a CEO of, I know you're extremely busy, and I just want to thank you again for taking it.
Absolutely. We don't always get to share the story behind it too. We're just as excited about them. So maybe what we'll do is once it's built, we'll go do and show how these story. We'll show the details and the story behind the details, because that would be a very interesting video to watch.
That will be a great one. So stay tuned for that episode. We'll be doing that when we open up. But
all right,
in the meantime, come on in and everybody just become a Beachmaker with us. And
all right,
thanks for your time, brother. Appreciate it. Bye bye.